chapter, the king, farmers and towns, in which we will start a new topic that we call an early empire. So early empire or the early kingdoms of the states, we saw the dynasty who ruled earlier in the ancient India. So we talk about the Haril dynasty. We saw this Nand dynasty, and we will talk about the Mauryan kingdom. So these were the early empire. So when we talk about the very important kingdom here is the Mauryan. They ruled over the region. We called it Magha. Okay. So after that, when we talk about this Mauryan, you can see it was founded by whom? Very important ruler called Chandragupta Maurya. Okay. So you can see the growth of the Magadh, it culminated in the emergence of the Mauryan Empire. So Chandragupta Maurya who founded the empire. And when we talk about this, after this Mauryan dynasties, okay, here you can see the empire extended over a vast region or area. Okay, here from Afghanistan, okay, then we talk about the region of Gujarat. Here you can see Karnataka, and in the east in Assam. Only one region that we call Odisha. This was won by Ashoka. A very important war after the war of Kalinga. Ashoka conquered this region. Okay. So, and when we talk about, because we are reading the Mauryan dynasty or the Mauryan empire, so for reconstructing the past, okay, now we will talk about the sources. So here when we say that how we get the information about this Maurya dynasty, so definitely there are the sources. So what types of sources are there? If we talk about the sources from where we are getting the information about this dynasty, so here we can see two important sources. One is the literary sources, another one is the archaeological sources. So when we talk about the literary sources, you can see it means literary, here we are talking about the written word. So here you can see very important text. Okay, text we talk about Indica. Then another one is the you can see Arthashastra. And there are other traditional texts also. You can see Jainism, and Jainism you can get information. Then we have Buddhism. Texts are there which gave information, valuable information about the Mauryan dynasty, and then Puranic text also. Then when we talk about the literally archaeological sources, so here comes very important sources are the inscriptions, okay, the coins. So these are what? These are the archaeological and the literary sources which give us information about the Mauryan dynasty. And when we talk about this Indica, it was written by whom? Very important name, Major Cities Leaders Kingdom with ambassador who came in the time of Chandragupta Maurya to live over there and write about the function or you can say administration instead of administration. वहाँ के रोजमर्रा के आपके जीवन के बारे में हमें महत्वपूर्ण जानकारी इंडिका से मिलती है. And then we talk the Arthashastra which was written by whom? Chanakya or Kautilya. Okay, he was the prime minister in the time of Prime Minister of Chandragupta Maurya. Okay, then we can see Jainism and Buddhism text also, as we read in the earlier that when we talk about Buddhism, they उन्होंने क्या कहा था कि जो मौर्य डायनेस्टी है वो किस वर्ण से बिलोंग करते हैं? क्षत्रिय वर्ण से. और अगर हम बुद्धिज्म की बात करते हैं और जैनिज्म की, तो यहाँ पे हम देखेंगे चंद्रगुप्त मौर्य ने कौन सा धर्म अपनाया? चंद्रगुप्त मौर्य ही एडॉप्टेड जैनिज्म. और जब हम बुद्धिज्म की बात करते हैं, लेट अस टॉक अबाउट बुद्धिज्म. हियर Ashok, okay, Ashok adopted Buddhism. So there are so many information about these rulers in these texts. So here you can see that Ashok, when we talk about this inscriptions, so we have read about inscription that is engraved on rock or pillar. Okay. So rock editor, pillar editor. So Ashok, he was the first ruler who inscribed the message to his subject and official on stone surfaces, as you can natural rocks, as well as in the polished pillar. So what was there in his inscription? So he proclaimed, okay, Dham. So in this inscription, when we talk about, we talk about Dham. So what is Dham? It's a moral law, code of conduct. Okay. Especially about the teaching of, we talk about the teaching of Buddha. So what was there? In this it include that we should respect towards elder, generosity towards the Brahmins, and those who renounce worldly life also, we should have generosity toward them. Treating slaves and servants kindly, and respect for religion and traditions other than one own. So now we talk about the administration of the empire. एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट द एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन. प्रशासन कैसा था? ठीक है. तो हम यहाँ पे देखते हैं there were 5 major political centers. Okay, so the capital here, we know earlier it was, when we talk about Magad, earlier the capital was Rajgiri and later it was shifted to Patliputra. Rajgiri and later it was shifted to Patliputra. So as far as administration, so there was a central administration center. Okay, central administration you can see. Central holds the authority. Authority is under the king. Central administration here, authority under here the authority is the king. Okay, and then here when we talk about this central administration, it is divided into provinces. Okay, which was administered by the prince. Is this clear? When we talk about this administration, here you can see there was central administration, central here, The head is the king. The decision making power is under the king. And this center, it was divided into provinces, and you will get very important the 4 provinces. ठीक है? So when we talk about these 4 provinces, here you can see Takshila, then in the north or northwest, okay, Swarnagiri in the south, Tosali during Ashok time, Odisha region, okay, and then comes Ujjain. So here you can see Uttarapad, Dachinapad, Avantipatra, and you can see here this Tosali. So these were the 4 important provinces, and which was administered by the prince and with the help of the Council of Ministers or Mahasammat. Council of Ministers, which we call Sammat or Mahasammat. Okay. So if you can see, could this vast empire? Now here comes a question when we talk about that there is a central administration. Okay. So here comes a question that is there uniformity? Okay, this vast empire have had a uniform administrative system. So historians, they have increasingly come to realize that now that it is unlikely. As you can see when we talk about this whole region, it stretches over a vast area, and it is stretched over a vast area. You can see this region, which is really okay, and somewhere you can find the plain region also, the coastal region also. So there is a region included within the empire. They were just too diverse. So here you can see the hilly terrain of Afghanistan, and then you can see the coastal region of Odisha. So if we talk about the administrative control, it was strongest in the area of the capital, and we talk about the capital, here is the Patliputra. Okay, and it was when we talk about the capital and this provincial centers. Okay, so they were having a strong hold in this provincial center. So what was the reason for that? So when we talk about this Takshila and this Ujjain, they are the important location. Okay, they are situated at the region where you can see it covered a long distance trade. Is this clear? And when we talk about this Swarnagiri, that literally means the golden mountain, was possibly important for tapping the gold mine, especially in Karnataka. So you can see, even when we talk about, because we are talking about the uniformity in the administration, so what we saw, that they were having the control, or they hold over the control in the capital and the provincial regions. And what was the reason behind that? Because as far as we talk about these regions, somewhere they are the coastal regions, and another one they are the main point, landmark for the you can see, or the important trade route, long distance trade route, which was the main center for the long distance trade route. And then when we talk Swarnagiri, it was tapped for the gold mine. So as far you can see, the communications here, okay, were both the land and the, if you talk about the communication here, to move one place to another, it was through land route, or another the riverine route. about the journey from the center to the provinces, it could be taken week, or if not, it could be take month. So it means that they have to arrange more provisions for the food supply, and as well as the protection for those who move from this place to, from the center to the provinces. So journey to this region, okay, journey to this region, it take, you can see it take times, maybe it can be a week or many months or months, okay. So it needs provisions, as well as you can see it needs protection of the people who move from this place to that place, okay. So the RB was an important means for assuring this later. And when we talk about Megasthenes, okay, he was the ambassador who came in the time of Chandragupta Maurya. He wrote that he mentioned a committee with 6 subcommittees for coordinating this military activity. So one committee is, okay, it's a very important source, that when we talk about these sources, what does it tell about, what information it is giving to us about the empire or the administration. So here you can see Megasthenes, okay, he mentioned about a committee, okay, who look after the committee or subcommittee, okay, who look after the military administration. So when we talk about the first committee, looked after the navy. Second, they managed the transport and the provisions. Third, were responsible for the foot soldier. Fourth, for horses. Fifth, chariot, and sixth, for elephants. So now it comes to another topic, that how important was the empire. And empire, we are talking about the Mauryans. Okay, so you can see that when we talk about the historians, okay, when they began to reconstructing the early Indian history in the 19th century. So the emergence of the Maurya Empire, it was a major landmark. Okay. Landmark in the Indian history. As well as we can talk about the sources, here they are the written sources, literary sources are available, the archaeological sources are available, okay, and you can see it was extended over a vast area as far as the rulers are concerned, and we have whole sources for भी अगर हम अर्थशास्त्र की बात करते हैं कि पूरा का पूरा प्रशासन किस तरह से चलेगा, ठीक है, तो ये पूरा का पूरा एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन के बारे में बताता है, हमें सूचना देता है एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन और राजतंत्र के बारे में हमें पूरी जानकारी अर्थशास्त्र से मिलती है। मेगास्थनीज ने हमें नगर के बारे में बताया, स्पेशली इंडिका से हमें इसके विषय में जानकारी मिलती है। वी कम टू नो अबाउट द कैपिटल पाटलिपुत्र, ठीक है। And there was a historian find that there was a possibilities that there was an empire in early India, both challenging and exciting. Even the stone sculptures, they were considered the example of spectacular arts typical of empire. Many of these historians, they found the message on Ashoka inscriptions. Okay, as far as we are talking about the Dham, so it was quite different from the other ruler, suggesting that Ashoka was powerful as well as industrious or hardworking. Even though it inspired, okay, as far as the title he took, yesterday we talked about two titles Ashoka took. One was the Devanpriya, and another was the Priyadasi. So whatever the grandest title he took, it was just show its humbleness, okay? And when we talk this Ashoka is inspired the nationalist leader in the 20th century. They regarded him as an inspiring figure for the national movement, okay? So here comes a new notion of kingship. So we read about the Maurya dynasty, okay, in a major part of the subcontinent. But there were other dynasties also who rise or emerged during that time. That was, we are talking about the dynasty of South, okay. So three very important. This is the reason. So here you can see this whole region we call it Tamilkam. Tamilkam, the region of Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, and Kerala. So you can find three important kingdoms, okay, that emerged during this time. So one was the Chera in the Kerala, and here you can see Pandyas. So these were the kingdoms during the time that emerged during the time of Ashoka. So here you can see it also survived, that we call Chola in the region of Andhra Pradesh at the beginning. Okay. So and other rulers also. As we read about this Chol, Cher and Pandyas, other rulers who came. So you can see other dynasty, the outsiders were the Shak, the Parthians, okay, and the Indo-Greeks. They also later come and ruled for a short span of time. So here comes divine king. So we read about the major dynasties, the major kingdom and the minor kingdom who ruled for a short span of time. So now we talk about the divine king. So what is this divine? Okay. So you can see here the king, they derived their authority. They believed, okay, they asserted that they had derived their authority from God, and they are not accountable for their action, and for prove themselves that they have the divine power, okay. They adopted the title, as we can see, a very important title is the Dev Putra, okay, son of God. So, and you can see this title, if we talk about Kushan, okay, he took the title of the son of God for the Dev Putra. Instead of Kushan, many Kushans rule. Instead, this Kushans, okay, when we talk about this Kushans, the rulers of Kushans, okay. You can see the example of Kanishka also. So these rulers of Kushans, so they took the title of Dev Putra, Kushan dynasty. So as we talk about, they came from Central Asia, and you can see they passed over an empire to the northwest India, and whatever history has been reconstructed, it was from inscriptions and the textual traditions. So here we saw that the statues of these Kushan rulers, okay, they have been found installed in a shrine at Mutt near Mathura. Similar statues you can find in the shrine in Afghanistan also. Okay, so here you can see that to claim their high status, okay, they identify themselves with a variety of god. Okay,